Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. See a couple of familiar faces and some new faces as well. Actually, we have a current first year AT who has joined. Kondo-san, where did you go? Kondo-san, thanks for joining us. I saw that you
こんに
registered.
ちは。はい。
Konnichiwa. Kondo-san, later on when we do panel discussion, if you ever want to like chime in, please feel free to raise your voice. That would be just fine.
はい。ありがとうございます。
Well, okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So, everyone, thank you very much for coming to our JLEAP info session. My name is Gabriel Rebeck with Laurasian Institution. We co-facilitate the JLEAP program together with Japan Foundation. And actually, as a special bonus, we've got one of our Japan Foundation colleagues from Tokyo, HQ, joining us today, Takahiro Shimizu. Shimizu-san, yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
よろしくお願いします。Nice to meet you 皆さん。今日よろしくお願いします。
Thank you so much for joining us. So he's joining us from morning Japan time tomorrow. And then we also have from Japan Foundation Los Angeles, we have Uchida Shocho joining us as well. Uchida Shocho, thanks
あ、
for joining.
はい。こんにちは、皆さん。My name is Yasuko Uchida. Thank you very much for attending the Take the Lead session. So we are very much looking forward for you to join the JD's program in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us today, Uchida Shocho. We really appreciate it. Yeah, we really appreciate all of Japan Foundation's support and making this very important and very impactful program possible. So I just wanted to mention that today what we're going to do is first I'm going to tell you just a tiny bit about the program. Then we'll hear just a little bit more from Japan Foundation Los Angeles. And then another one of our very special guests, we have Dr. Yoshiko Saito Abbott Sensei joining us as well. She's one of our JLEAP trainers, and she is going to talk to us a little bit about the professional development that you can expect from JLEAP. So that's very helpful. And then we'll hear from some of our current LTs, a current AT, and former LTs as well. So a lot about the experience that real people have had on the program. Everybody's going to have a slightly different experience with the program itself, and so we kind of want to hear the voices of some of the people that have done it. Actually, we have Tara Sanchez Sensei and Carlos Wick Sensei. I'm also noticing in our gallery here. So if other of our current or former LTs want to chime in during that panel, all voices would be appreciated. But anyway, so we'll do some of those individual reflections from some of those LTs and an AT, Maho Sampe. And then Ann Jordan, who is our Laurasian Institution staff and full-time JLEAP trainer, she will give us some final reflections, and then we'll kind of break into that panel Q&A section. And then we'll go ahead and wrap it up from there. So the thing that I want to share with everybody before we get started with all the people who have more important information to share than myself, the JLEAP program is almost like a reverse jet program where we dispatch young Japanese teachers from Japan to the United States into mostly high schools, but we can do pretty much anything K through 12. We are accepting immersion schools this year. And these ATs, these assistant teachers, teach together with lead teachers who are full-time Japanese teachers in the United States to team teach together with them. The ATs are not licensed to teach alone in the United States. That's why they work together as team teachers with their lead teachers, the LTs. And they do that for 2 years. Basically, the program timeline is the ATs arrive in summer, where we bring everybody together for a program training, and that's all paid. So the LTs, they have to come typically to Seattle, where we do this program training. The ATs and the LTs meet each other and sort of get to know what we expect and teach about the program, talk about program stipends, how much the ATs get for everything, because the LTs have to help them out with some of their setting up life stuff, things like that. But then after that, they both fly back from Seattle to their host community, and it's off to the races from there. We have we follow up with everybody quite a bit. Ann Sensei is pretty much constantly in contact with all of the ATs. It's kind of like their mother here in the United States. But she also provides really, really meaningful professional development to the LTs at the same time. We do take that team teaching element of the program very seriously. So we do require some communication with the LTs during the program. We do have a follow-up training that we bring our ATs back to. That one's the ATs only. But then we bring everybody back again at the 1 year mark where our new cohort has arrived, but our cohort who's becoming their second year on the program, they get to meet the new people, sort of refresh with the training with us. And we put them all through all sorts of fun professional development and Saito Sensei's very rigorous training at that point. And then usually by the second year, everybody's pretty solid, pretty confident, and they're doing pretty well. So we do quite a bit of communication with folks, especially during that first year. The second year, we try to be a little bit more hands-off, but usually, if somebody needs help, we're always happy to provide it. If this sounds like something that you're interested in, you can apply for the program at laurasian.org/jleap. It's there on the screen. The application is there. Go to the lead teachers section. There are 2 parts to the application. Part 1, that one is due in December, so we'd ask you to take care of that relatively soon. And then if you are selected to move on to part 2 of the application, that's the one that has a teaching video component. That's due in mid-January. And so I would maybe keep that in mind. Typically, the part 1 of the application, that's just information about you, your school, etc. But part 2, getting that teaching demonstration recorded, that can take a little bit of planning. So we just sort of like to bring your attention to that. That's the basic process. I know I rolled through it really quickly, but all that information is on the website, so please feel free to check out there if you'd like to learn a little bit more. But as for the actual program contents, let's go ahead and start hearing from the people that make this program happen. So first of all, I want to hear a little bit from Japan Foundation Los Angeles. We have Mike Penny here to speak with us. So Mike, I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to you. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu.
はい、よろしくお願いします. Thanks, Gabe. Good afternoon, everyone, or evening, depending on where you're zooming in from. Thanks so much for joining today's JLEAP info session. My name's Mike Penny. I've worked for the Japan Foundation Los Angeles, or JFLA, for about 11 years now, handling several grant programs that are designed to support Japanese language education. And I've also had the pleasure of serving as kind of an extra pair of hands for JLEAP for maybe 8 years or so now. And JFLA acts as a kind of liaison between participants and our Tokyo headquarters and Laurasian institution. So on behalf of JFLA, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. So whether you've heard about JLEAP before and you're considering maybe applying this time, or you're just starting to think about ways to strengthen your program, we're just delighted that you're here to learn more. JLEAP, which Japan Foundation co-facilitates, as Gabe mentioned, with Laurasian Institution, has supported so many programs across the US over the years, helping teachers, breathe fresh life into their programs, making them more vibrant and engaging for both the teachers and the students, and building bridges between communities here in the US and Japan. Through JLEAP, the big headline is that schools gain, the valuable support of an assistant teacher from Japan who brings authentic language and culture directly into the classroom, thereby strengthening it, raising the profile of the program. That's the headline. But I'd also like to highlight that in addition to that, JLEAP's also an opportunity to form lasting connections with people, both professional and personal. A number of JLEAP participants will tell you that their JLEAP partner became not just a colleague, but a friend, someone who supported them in their teaching journey and someone they supported likewise. And at its best, that's what JLEAP does. And we think that's something that makes JLEAP truly unique and special. So if you're on the fence about applying, we encourage you to explore the possibilities today. Consider it and imagine how JLEAP could enrich your students, your school, and your own teaching journey. So thank you again for being here. We hope you'll come away from today's session inspired and excited about the potential of JLEAP. And with that, I'll turn it back over. Thanks, Gabe.
Darn it, I was muted. I didn't want to do that. We definitely appreciate all of the support from Japan Foundation Los Angeles for making this program possible. So thank you, Mike. And again, thank you to Uchida Shocho, who's with us here today as well. But next, I'd like to hear from Yoshiko Saito Abbott Sensei from CSU Monterey Bay. I'm very excited to have Saito Sensei with us here today. She's probably the one that the most people in this room know because she's very kao hiroi, as they say. But she's also the one who has been directly involved in the JLEAP program since day one. We are currently in the 14th year of the program. We've been running for quite a while. And as you know, staff members come and go. Those of us who are lucky enough to be able to help out with the program, we, get to do time on, time off, that kind of thing. But Saito Sensei has been involved with this program since the very beginning, and so she has definitely had a huge impact on many generations of our JLEAP ATs and LTs through the amazing training that she provides in these JLEAP training sessions. So to speak just a little bit to the professional development available through JLEAP, I'd like to turn it over to Saito Sensei. Saito Sensei, よろしくお願いします。
はい、ありがとうございます。日本語で言いますね。はい。
日本語でも大丈夫ですよ。はい。
はい、じゃあ、今日はですね、JLEAP というプログラムに参加することで、リードティーチャーの先生方がどのようにして教師として成長していけるのか、そのことについてちょっと話したいと思います。JLEAP のプログラムの強みですね。それは何といっても21世紀型の授業方法の実践と個人的なコーチングだと思います。24th Century Skill Teaching ね、and Individual Guide。はい。毎年、夏にですね、だいたい1週間ぐらいの、研修があるんですけれども、参加者全員がシアトルに集まって、AT の先生と一緒に、自分のティーチングを振り返りながら、最新の教授法を学び、実際にその授業案を作成します。自分の授業を変えるのには何を変えたらいいのかというと、まずはアセスメントの方法を変えることが一番効果的なんですね。ですから今その最前線のアセスメントのを取り入れた授業案についてお話しいたします。で、さらにその授業案に対して研修でね、その仲間とかそれからトレーナーから具体的なフィードバックを受けて、実際にその授業案を自分たちの学校に行ってやってもらいます。そしてそのフィードバックをもらうことができます。このようなプロセスを通して自分の教え方をよく深く見直して教師としての実践力を高めていくことができると思います。またこのプログラムのもう一つの大きな特徴というのは、2年間にわたって継続的に経験豊かなトレーナーの先生から指導を受けることができるということです。これはコーディネーターのアン・ジョーダン先生が実際に学校に訪問をして授業を見て、で即接フィードバックをしてくださいますけれども、その後もですね、その必要に応じて Zoom を通して定期的なサポートをしていらっしゃいます。で、このようななんていうのかな、サポートが深いプログラムっていうのは本当に見たことがないほどとても深い支援のあるプログラムだと思います。で、多くの先生方はよくワークショップとか学会などに参加なさって、おお、素晴らしい、私もそれやりたいというふうに思うと思うんですね。で、実際に自分のクラスに帰ってみると、忙しいので、また同じ授業をしてしまうというふうな、なんていうのか、ビショスソ悪い悪循環に陥って、もうフラストレーションが溜まっているっていう先生もいらっしゃると思うんですけれども、実際に AT の人と一緒にいることによって自分を客観的に見ることができるし、お互いに学んでいくことができると思います。ですから21世紀型の授業というのは知識としては知っているけれども、日々の授業に取り入れることはなかなか難しいと感じていらっしゃる先生方も多いと思いますけれども、ぜひこのプログラムに参加して挑戦をしていただきたいと思います。その点 JLEAP ではトレーナーとの継続的なやり取りを2年間通して行うことができるので、知識だけではなく実践に根ざした形で学びを深めていけるというのが大きな強みだと思います。
Thank you very much, Saito Sensei. We appreciate you for speaking to that side of the program. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the professional development side is such an important piece of this program. It's really it's a win-win thing. The ATs learn so much, the LTs also learn so much. There's a lot that the program gets, but being able to communicate with Saito Sensei, work on projects together with her at the trainings that we do, I think it's impossible to overstate the impact that has on so many different teachers who have taken this program. So we're very lucky to have Saito Sensei as part of the program and here with us today as well. So thanks again, Saito Sensei. But we, the administrators of the program, can tell you so much about what the program is and isn't, but I know it's still kind of hard to picture, well, what would it actually look like to be team teaching together with an assistant teacher in my classroom? So that's why we have four amazing, so three lead teachers and an assistant teacher with us today to start telling you their individual experiences about on the program. And so we're going to start hearing from them one by one before we hear a little bit more from Ann Sensei and then all of them together as a panel. So for our first individual LT to share their experience with us, we're going to hear from Mr. Dan Carolyn from John F. Kennedy High School in my hometown of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So Dan, please feel free to take it away.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So I'm Dan Carroll. I teach at Kennedy High School in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And so this was my second time participating in the program. I actually participated way back in year one. And so I want to talk a little bit about today what I think are some of the advantages of doing the program. Also, I think some of the things that I want LTs to be ready for, before the program starts. And so I will say, kind of going back to that professional development piece that we were talking about before, it has gotten so much better. When I did it in year one, the intention was great, but the professional development was a little bit loosey-goosey. It's so much more solid and structured now and very helpful. If you don't know Saito Sensei or Ann Jordan, you should. They are like two of the most passionate people about promoting Japanese education in the United States, and it's just a great opportunity to work with them. So one of the things I want to say sort of before the program starts is I really think it's important for you as an LT to be sort of ready to help get this new person settled into their new hometown. They do look to you to see like they don't know the place, right? And I mean, I'm in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I don't think anybody has ever just sort of come over from Japan, except for my sister school, just to visit. Okay, so I guess I would just really encourage people to start thinking about, like, for example, after you do the training and you go home, I know people have busy schedules, but if you could sort of just think about maybe setting aside some time to help them do all the things they need to do, get their social security card, buy a car, they don't really know how to navigate these things, help them find a place to live, etc. I just found that, and that takes a bit of time. So I think, the last time I did this, I was working with my AT, almost, full time for about 5 days, just kind of sort of getting things, done as far as, shopping and getting things settled and they have to kind of learn the lay of the land and the school. And of course, also preparing them for the difference between if they have no experience in an American high school. There's obviously, we all know, a very big difference between facing a classroom of American high school kids and Japanese, and being in a Japanese high school. And we, of course, as teachers are sort of, we generally work alone, and we're used to that, and we like it. And, but this, I think I really want to emphasize to lead teachers, if you're going to do this program, please be ready to really team teach. Don't just give it lip service at the professional development. Be really ready to turn half of your classroom, with the person, with your AT, over to them and work with them. Collaboration can be very stressful, especially since we kind of want to make our own decisions and we're so used to that. But I think that's, that it's stressful at the start. And I think once you develop a rhythm with your AT, it becomes, something that's very productive and maybe even makes your job a bit, easier. And so, I really want to emphasize that it's okay to sort of let them lead at times. When I work with my I had two recently, Shiho and Shiori, and both were very, very terrific at sort of establishing relations with the students, which I strongly encourage them. And of building up lesson plans. It's sort of it's sort of built on our rapport as well, which was a lot of fun for the kids. They really enjoyed it. As a matter of fact, this is the first time in 3 years that I'm teaching without an AT from JLEAP, and my students are worried. Can you do this job on your own? I've done it. But they really, really did enjoy sort of us having a give and take in the classroom. And so I really want to encourage you to, be ready to kind of do stuff like that. Uh, and another thing I think is really important, this is like a small thing, but when the AT is not in the room, I always, I encourage people. I think it's really important to make sure that your kids know that you think that, that they're awesome. And I took that opportunity to do that whenever my ATs were not around, if they were off at a conference or something like that, and just, kind of, build them up, because I did think that. I really did. I thought that they were terrific. And I guess the other thing I would really encourage people to do, as far as, trying to make this a really good experience for the AT, is talk to them about their career goals post JLEAP, and see what kind of support you can offer for them for that. Because I think that's, I see this as an opportunity to really help somebody, get into a profession of teaching Japanese or whatever, but I want them to kind of, I think one of the most important things is for them to come away with a very positive experience from the whole thing. So I think that's my 5 minutes. Did I have 5 or 4?
That's, unless you've got anything else to say, we might move on, although I appreciate
No, I'm done. I'm done. I got through it all. Okay.
Okay. No, we were very lucky to have Dan Sensei back on the program recently. So Dan, thank you very much for coming back and,
No
and the
problem.
kind words. But let's go ahead and roll right along to our next. So next we've got kind of a treat. We have a pair, an AT and LT, who work together at the same school. We've got Don Callister, and he's the LT, and Maho Sampe, who is the assistant teacher, the AT. They're at Coeur d'Alene High School in Idaho. So I think we're going to hear from Don Sensei first, but then Don, if you want to sort of pass it over to Maho to take over from there, I think that would be just fine. But Don Sensei, take it away.
I should just pass it over to her right away. That would be fantastic. Dan covered a lot of really good stuff that I was going to cover, but let me talk about my personal experience. First, I'm in my 30th year of teaching Japanese, and my first 7 years of teaching were in Santa Monica, where I was surrounded by a lot of great resources, like Japan Foundation was just down the street. There was a good Japanese community. Since I've been in Idaho for the last 23 years, those resources kind of dried up. And so I've kind of gone it alone for many, many years. If I wanted to attend a professional community, I would have driven to Seattle, about 5 hours away. That was the closest I really had to being around other teachers. So this has been a fantastic experience for me to make friends. I now have teachers that I collaborate with in Hawaii and New Jersey and back in Torrance, California. And that's been fantastic. But let me start back to the application process. The application process, I had applied for Japan Foundation stuff years and years ago. I got to go to Urawa and do some other things. I'd forgotten how complicated Japanese applications could be. So I kind of bogged down in that process. I was glad that I pushed through, went through the interview process, and that was a little intimidating. I struggled with that. I talked with Ann Sensei after that, and that's when it really clicked for me, is that we get stuck in some of the minutia, but when I started making personal connections, I realized this was a good place for me to be. Fantastic job at giving me a AT that just fits my personality. Maho Sensei is so smart, so organized, and has been such a great contributor to the classroom. Loved going to Seattle. Seattle was a ton of fun. It was stressful, but it was totally worth it. Got to know some wonderful people who I do hope will be colleagues for the rest of my life. My original connection to JLEAP started with meeting Gabe in the NPJ program, taking students to Japan through that. Gabe sat me down one day and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about this?" And it got me thinking, but didn't have me convinced. It was a couple other interactions with Gabe, again, a personal connection that made me realize maybe I should pursue this. For Maho Sensei and I, the first year is a little bit different than the second year. First year, we spent every prep period after school doing some planning together, getting ready for all the classes. Feels like we've transitioned a little bit this year to where we have more of a lead and assistant. I lead out with the Japanese ones. She leads out with the Japanese two, and we kind of mix with the threes and fours. And that's been really fun. Maho Sensei has been able to update my language. I have really what she calls oji-san Japanese. I was in Japan in the late 80s. Much has changed in vocabulary and culture and stuff like that. So I needed an update, and that's been really fun. She's very kind in her helping me get updated most of the time. Sometimes not kind. No, she's always kind. We have a lot of fun, but I've never had the chance to be interacting with someone else in Japanese in front of my students. And so Japanese language being spoken in the class has increased dramatically. We're much more authentic. I'm much more authentic. She's always authentic. I'm much more authentic with the things I'm able to present to them. And the funnest thing was that Maho Sensei was able to join me as I went to my second NPJ and took 14 students to Japan this past summer. And it was just a fantastic experience. One of the greatest votes of confidence that I saw is that most of the other LTs that I've worked with, they're on their second, third, fourth time doing this program. So obviously there's something that has really clicked with them. And so that's the stuff. I think that's all I have. Maho Sensei, you want to take over? She's got a bit of a fancy program that she wants to share.
You should be able to just share your screen there. Go ahead.
I found it.
But I also just wanted to comment, I think we all would enjoy watching much more of the Don and Maho show. This is very entertaining. Please feel free to take more time. じゃあ、三平さんどうぞ。
はい。これって今見えてますか？
見えます。
画面が。はい。イヤー13のコダレン高校に派遣されているアシスタントティーチャーの三平真帆です。まずちょっと私の紹介をします。大学に行っている時にオレゴン州のポートランドで英語を半年間勉強しました。その時に日本語を勉強している学生がいて、日本語を教えることに興味を持ちました。で、大学を卒業した後でレストラン、しゃぶしゃぶと寿司の日本のレストランで4年間ぐらい働いていました。その時にも中国とかインドネシアとかネパールとか、会社の中でインターナショナル社員というふうに呼んでいたんですけど、いろんな国から来ている、同僚がいて、で私も、中国人とインドネシア人の部下がいて、一緒に働いたりしたので、その時にまたこう日本語を教えることに対してこう仕事にしたら楽しそうだなと思って、でコロナの時をきっかけに日本語教師になろうと思いました。で、その日本語の先生になるための学校を卒業した後で、日本にある日本の国内の日本語学校で1年半ぐらい教えて、で、だいたい10カ国以上ぐらいの学生に、日本語を教えていました。で、その教えてるときに、なんか言葉だけじゃなくて、もうちょっと人のコネクションを作ることとか、あとは日本の文化を教えることにもこう力を入れたいなと思って、JLEAP に応募して、今、アイダホ州にいます。はい。で、今までの JLEAP についてなんですが、まず、今、私とドン先生で教えてるクラスが、日本語1から4までのクラスがあって、 3と4は、ミックスのクラスで教えています。で、もともとドン先生が、ごめんなさい、スペリングミスがありますね。アドベンチャーズ・イン・ジャパニーズっていう、テキストブック、教科書を使って教えていたので、そこにちょっとこう、J リープの研修で勉強した5ステッププランニングっていうののエッセンスをちょっとこう入れながら、こう、ちょっとずつこう授業を変えて、元の授業のスタイルからちょっとずつこう2人で、ティームティーチング、ティーチングするにはどうしたらいいのかっていうので、試行錯誤しながらやってます。で、今はドン先生もさっき言ったんですけど、レベルを分けて、じゃあこのチャプターはドン先生がジャパニーズ1の担当です。じゃあ私、このチャプターはジャパニーズ2の担当です。で、チャプターが終わったらスワップするとか、担当を分けてやってます。で、アシスタントティーチャーとして私が主にやってるのは、なんかクラスでの活動ゲームとかを考えたりとか、あとは学生が使えるリソースをちょっと作ったりとか、あとは文化紹介活動とかです。最近やったのだと、ハロウィンにかけて日本の妖怪の紹介をしましたね。はい。はい。で、去年は日本語のクラスが3つだったんですけど、なので、ドン先生は歴史の授業も教えていたので、プレップの時間で準備はしてたんですけど、やっぱり社会の授業で準備することもいろいろあったので、ちょっとそのバランスを取るっていうのが、ちょっと大変でしたけど、なんとか乗り越えて、で、今のそのクラスを分担して、このどっちがリードをして、どっちがアシスタントをするのかっていうバランスをちょっと今はこう見つけてきて、こう、うまくこう、ね、走り出した感じですね。はい。で、授業の試行錯誤、学生が楽しめるかっていうのと、やっぱり今まで日本で教えていたのは、高校を卒業した後の学生だったので、ある程度授業に集中するっていう意識はある学生だったんですけど、やっぱり高校生に教えるっていうことで、集中力のスパンがやっぱり短かったりするので、それをどう集中してもらうかっていうのは、ちょっと私も試行錯誤、楽しみながらしてやってます。はい、で、今年は1クラス増えたんですよね。去年は日本語クラス3つだったんですけど、今は4つになったので、増えるために、同じディストリクトの中の中学校にこう日本語の授業を取りませんかっていうプロモーションをちょっとさせてもらいに行ったりとか、あとは、来年以降、今いる学生がどう残ってくれるのかっていうのと、はい、新しく学生がどれだけ入ってくれるのかっていうのを、はい、ちょっと考えてなきゃなと思ってます。で、さっきも言ったんですけど、学生に楽しんでもらうことをちょっと考えながらやってるのと、あとは私もともとレストランで働いていたので、去年は1回、今年は2回、クッキングの授業を、クッキングの活動をしたので、やっぱりアシスタントティーチャー、いろんなこう、なんでしょう、経験をして、もともと働いていて、日本語教師になったりとか、日本語教師を長くやっていたりとか、いろんな経歴を持っている人がいると思うので、その人によって、こう、なんか強みを生かした、授業とか活動ができるのが、こう、いいところじゃないかなと思ってます。はい。で、これは、私のすごい個人的な、成長をした面なんですけど、一番上が特に感じてて、今までは本当に日本語を教えるっていうことをメインだったんですけど、やっぱり教育というか人を育てるっていうことにすごく、こう、なんでしょう、意識が向いてきて、やっぱりドン先生すごく長く教えてらっしゃって、日本語を教えるだけじゃなくて、なんでしょう、本当に学校の先生、人を育てるっていうところがすごく上手だなっていうふうに思って、日々学ぶところがあるので、そこは、これ今までの1年間もそうでしたし、あとの残りの1年間でもちょっと勉強していけたらいいなっていうことと、やっぱり最初は生活のセッティングアップが大変だったんですけど、今はもうだいぶなんとかなるさっていう気持ちで 結構大変な、去年の夏も引っ越しするときちょっと大変だったんですけど、まあなんとかなるでしょっていう、はい、気持ちで生きていけるようになりました。あとはなんか自分から行動することとか、情報を集めていくことの大切さも学べたかなと思って、はい、今はこういう生活面で太鼓のチームに入ったりとか、編み物のなんか集まりに行って、はい、おばあちゃんたちに日本ってどうなのってはい、日本のことをちょっと聞かれたりとかして、はい、地域の人ともちょっとコミュニケーション取れてるのが、はい、成長したなと思ってます。以上です。
Thank you very much. Oh, please.
Can I just share just a little bit more? Maho Sensei has done a great job in making herself a part of the community here at the school, as well as the community. She's also become part of my family. She knows my children. She goes shopping with my wife on occasion, and that's been really fun. We were able to do driver's lessons last 2 summers ago. I had a son who was just getting his driver's license, and though Maho had a license for many, many years, we find ourselves in a parking lot because she had only been a paper driver. And so that was a fun aspect. And then as we got to know each other a little bit better, it turned out that I was actually at her school when she was a first grader in Urawa. And so we had lots of fun little weird connections. And so that's been a lot of fun to get to know somebody else and kind of adopt her into our family.
Thank you so much, Don and Maho. We really appreciate that. Everybody, they are just as delightful as they appear on screen here, I have to say. And yeah, that connection that Don had actually been to Maho's school on a Japan Foundation program where he was doing a training at that they have a Japanese language center in Urawa. That realization was just amazing. And I think that's why we love these grassroots level programs of exchange. You know, you find all those connections. They're always so amazing. I also didn't realize I had pushed you quite that hard, Don Sensei, but I also know there's some other NPJ teachers in the room with us here today that maybe we need to push equally hard to join JLEAP. Shout out to Z Sensei out there, Zimmerman Sensei. I see you out there. But next, I wanted to share that the JLEAP program has a connection to, so the JOY program, Japan Outreach Initiative, which has also been running for about 25 years now. Also co-administered by Japan Foundation and Laurasian Institution. And then both of these programs have their roots in another program that took place during the 1990s called JLEX. And we are very happy and lucky to have a former LT with us who actually originally came to the US as a teacher on the JLEX program from Japan. So Kumi Kobayashi from Los Gatos High School is also here to speak with us a little bit more. So Kumi-sensei, please take it away.
はい。皆様、すみません。その、Asian example の小林です。Okay. And then I have cold and my cough, and I will mute myself. Sorry if that happens. So I participated in JLEAP twice as AT. Also, just Gabe-san introduced me. I did participate as JLEX assistant teacher 99 to 2001. And that helped me become a Japanese teacher who I am today. And I was really glad that I was able to return my favor finally as LT. So a great connection. And thank you so much for the Japan Foundation and Malaysian Institution. You guys helped me become who I am. Okay, so a little bit about my experience. Overall, my JLEAP experience was really positive. We were a great team, my second AT, and worked together, created fun, engaging learning environment for all my students. And I helped my AT learn how to plan, teach lessons effectively, and how to keep growing as a teacher. And in return, he showed me what younger generations are into, things like popular music, games, and entertainment, something I don't enjoy. I cannot pretend I'm young. So, that's the reality. And how we could use social media to promote a program. And that was something new and exciting for me. And how my AT and I work together. So we work together every day, taught 4 different Japanese classes from the beginning, and we planned and taught as a team. So I didn't shy for him to be just a display of young male teacher. We did work together, so we had some challenges I will talk about a little bit later. No. Now I'm talking about challenge now. Sorry, I have notes. I'm lost. Okay. So during the first year, it took a while, and I feel like took me a while to get to the point that he's on the same page. So much to learn for him, and also for me to learn about what he can do. We spent quite a bit of time explaining what I teach, how I approach lessons, and how I assess students using 5-step lesson plan and assessment and real world context in mind. Once my AT understood the big picture and developed his own ideas, he really took initiative of creating lessons. He especially enjoyed making the lesson of the input phase. He wanted to use a different thing to make it more interesting for the students. That was very helpful. And we took turn teaching different parts of the activities. We both made sure to give students individual attentions that they need. And there's some challenges. We got lucky with finding very nice host family for the second AT, but first AT, it was difficult and it really made it her life harder. We also got lucky for him to find his own place after host family phase. And to make that possible, I reached out to parents. They have a lot of connection in the community. So I do encourage those future LT to find host family as soon as possible. Just reach out, share what you plan and how much benefit that AT can bring to your program and for your students, and they're happy to help. And where am I? So for me, sometimes sharing a classroom and working with someone such extended time, 2 years, was hard. I got used to it, but that was one of the challenges. And then learn to be more flexible. That comes as practice. Yes, we can do it. And to listen and to understand different perspective and to appreciate the positive side of his contribution. Yes, we can grow up. Another challenge was helping my AT to set clear boundaries with my students. Younger, fun Japanese teacher is really popular. And the age-wise, he's always closer to the students. So I had some serious talk sometimes with him, especially second year, because things get loose, things get really fun. But I worry as a mother, as a teacher. So we had to make sure that we see the same, we go back to the why you came and what's your purpose? What's the daily purpose? So you need to behave like the teacher. So anyway, that was the challenge too, but he managed to find a line and we conclude the program in a fun way. And my students really enjoyed having him. So really thankful for that. Okay. And most fun surprise, the couple. But first thing was I was able to see lessons from the sorry, my text from my kids. Do you hear the ping? So sorry. Where am I? Sorry, I'm lost again. So I'm critical about my lesson. I feel so many things students didn't react in a way I wanted. They kind of lost focus. And I talk about those things with him. And he said, well, I think it went well. Don't worry too much, sensei. And that sort of attitude helped me to relax and just enjoy teaching. So that was really helpful. And also, another thing was, sorry, I have so many notes. Yeah, the current Japanese pop culture that I wasn't familiar with, and I don't watch anime. So those a lot of things we were able to incorporate, and students really enjoyed that and made that lesson exciting. And lastly, overall impact on my teaching and my program. I discovered so many new fun activities and different way of assessing. I don't, I, after so many years of teaching, this is my 23 years, you kind of focus on certain things because that works for you and more efficient, but not necessarily it's fun for the students. So teaching with him and having him do what he wants to do, how he wants to do, help me see a different approach. So now I can do more variety of things that students like. So I really appreciate that. And also learn to give my AT more freedom and truly learned what it means to work with somebody. And the benefit goes both ways. And sometimes it's hard, but sometimes it's really helpful. And I think I grow as a person and as a teacher. And also, he was like a tech savvy and social media kind of famous. So he taught me how to really use Instagram to promote my program. And so that helped me to how to grow our online community. And I'm able to keep up the increase the number of followers, following things, and what sort of content I can upload and keep the audience captivated. And at the end, enrollment number is steady. So that's a big plus for me. Okay, maybe I talked too much, but I'm done here. So
Thank you very much, Kobayashi Sensei. Yeah, enrollment numbers, that's actually a really good point. So program advocacy is another point that I do want to mention is something that we pride the JLEAP in providing to schools and lead teachers. So thank you for bringing that up. But actually, anything that has not been brought up to this point, perhaps Ann Sensei might mention them. To sort of provide a little bit of a reflection on everything that our ATs and LTs have mentioned. I'm going to throw it over to Ann Jordan here, our main JLEAP trainer. Who's going to share some reflections, and then she's going to lead us into a Q&A section where we invite all of our ATs and LTs to answer some questions as a panel from the folks in the audience today. So during this time, while Ann Sensei is providing her feedback, I'd say please feel free to put any questions that you might have into the chat, and we will take questions from in that chat and try to answer them as a group. So anybody that has a question right now, please feel free to put that into the chat while Ann Jordan takes it away for her reflections. So Ann Sensei, onegaishimasu.
Thank you so much to all the panelists. I was really impressed with how honest I can tell you they were very, very straightforward and honest about the really great benefits, and then also realistic, tips about and things that they shared about their own experience. So Kobayashi Sensei said the benefit goes both ways. And we could tell that, from what all of what Dan Sensei said, and Don Sensei, and then Kobayashi Sensei, and then as well as Maho Sensei, who provided the AT perspective. Some key things that I think we heard from everybody was growth. That came up a lot. And if you are applying to be an LT, you might be thinking the growth is for the AT. You are mentoring them. They are going to gain experience for 2 years teaching with you, teaching in a US school. But actually the growth is it goes in both ways. So these are just some photos. I just came back from my site visits. I visit the schools in the first semester of the first year. And some of these are from previous years, but they were all taken during the first after like the first two months of teaching together. There are a lot of different ways. You might be wondering, so what are we going to do together? And I think Gabe said he said it's almost like a reverse jet, but actually if you have been a jet on the jet program, you will find out that it is reverse jet only because assistant teacher goes to, instead of going to Japan, assistant teacher comes to the US. But I think the teaching experience is very different. So let me give you some examples. And these are in the next slide. These are just some of the things that the LTs in the past provided in their reflection, to answer to the question, what were some of the ways that you've been co-teaching? And these were questions this is a question that was posed to the second year. So they have been teaching for 1 year, and in their second year, we asked them. So I thought you might be interested to know that the answer is all kinds of things, right? There's no one way to co-teach. And I just kind of highlighted some of the key words here. Sometimes we split the class, so we have smaller groups. Students can work on their individual. Sometimes we split the groups based on student behavior. Some students, if they work together, they can become distracted. So we work as a team to manage that. Another one said, sometimes, a lot of the time we team teach together, we are ping-ponging off of each other, using each other to model and engage. We prepare the materials we may need. We talk together about the big picture, and then we teach, we debrief. And afterwards, maybe if we have time, we reflect, we get to talk, and we plan more in depth. We move around the room supporting students while they're working. We are both always helping and supporting our students. But we heard growth from everyone in different ways. And so I wanted to, and Saito Sensei also mentioned about the growth. So the LATs, of course, they grow, not just as future teachers, possibly, but also as people, because they are, in Japanese, they say wakate haken. So they are, they are in their 20s, maybe early 30s. So they grow in 2 years in many, many ways as human beings. And you are part of that, of that experience as an LT. You are mentoring them, not just in their teaching, but in life, as a couple of the LTs, Dan or Don mentioned, and Kumi-sensei too. But when we talk about how an LT grows, this comes up a lot. We don't realize I have grown as a teacher. Don said he was been teaching for 30 years, and he has grown, which, we joke, yes, you can teach an old dog new tricks. He has, this person said, my AT has made my, my curriculum more motivating, fun, educational, even differentiated, extra challenges. Another one said, I've been able to keep challenging myself to learn new content, themes, and use my Japanese. Kobayashi Sensei mentioned about that. Well, she said, I'm not young, but actually I think she is young, but she learned new things. Reflection. Having an AT keeps me in a practice of reflection, because we have to talk about, like why and how that was, and having someone to go through the struggle or the success is validating. It can be very lonely to be a Japanese teacher in a K-12 school, or especially a high school, if you are the only one, which is often the case. I have learned to adjust to different comfort levels and learning and teaching styles. I have a partner. I'm able to grow my curriculum in an authentic and accurate way with my AT's help. And something that we don't think about in this program often, but I have seen, and many LTs have talked about how they have grown as a leader. Many of the LTs go on. and they are here in this meeting today, they serve in positions of leadership in the Japanese language education community as AATJ, directors or co-directors or officers, or in their local affiliates, in their schools. I have grown as a teacher and as a leader. My classes are richer now. I think more deeply and have to think about why I do what I do. Another one said, again, making me think more deeply about how I can help the teachers in my department to develop their practice too. And then last comment, as a teacher gets experience, sometimes they become too comfortable in teaching and thinking in certain ways. However, our students continue to change and get younger. I came to realize that I became more open-minded to different views and opinions about lessons and activities since I started working with my AT. So I know that you are anxious to ask questions, so I'm going to turn it back to the panel for a Q&A session, and I will moderate that. Gabe, should we just have everybody unmute themselves and just ask away, or how do you want to do it?
So we've got a couple of questions coming in the chat. I think we can at least start there.
All right.
Yeah. So what kinds of qualities are the applicants expected to have in terms of selection? If you can answer is the first one. And Sensei, you want to take a stab at that? What are we looking for in terms of LTs?
Well, I would say we are looking for someone who is excited about and willing to grow. So it's not about how much experience you have. It's about how willing you are to, how flexible and how open you are to not just have another person in your classroom, to share the teaching with, share the stage with, but also, we want a teacher who may have been teaching a long time successfully, who is willing to look at things in a different way and embrace some new ways. Right, Don Sensei? Let me see. I'm looking at questions here.
Yeah, we've got a question from Richard Mildenthal. I wonder whether I would be eligible to participate with only a part-time schedule of Japanese classes between two schools. I am a full-time teacher, but part of my schedule is English. A day, first period Japanese 1, second period Japanese 2, 3, third period English. Same schedule at my other school across town. This is actually a pretty common question. So Ann Sensei, maybe cover this.
Mildenhall Sensei, nice to see you. We met it. He was part of the Santa Barbara seminar this last summer. We have we do have teachers on the program who are teaching Japanese plus something else to round out their schedules. So ideally, the teacher, the AT would have the opportunity to have at least a couple of classes of Japanese to get experience with. But we do have teachers who teach in two different locations. So, so the AT travels as well. So that's not a prohibitive, especially these days with some programs shrinking. It's not required to have a full-time position. ATs can contribute in many different ways and learn from all kinds of settings.
Can I say something, Ann? To that, I'm not sure if this is okay. So Gabe or Ann, make me stop if I'm out of line here. But I think a lot of schools also have ELL programs. And I recently had a student teacher who was doing Japanese and ELL. So, and I'm teaching two, I have two English classes now as well. And so when I was doing that, she was kind of going around and helping, out with the ELL program. Is that something that would be allowed in a school that has a program like that, assuming that the teacher is cool with it.
Should I answer that?
Yeah, go for it.
I think, yeah, I think the key there is the teacher is cool with it. You know, we don't want to you force an AT to do something that he or she doesn't feel comfortable with, since the program is about teaching. But ELL is, you can learn a lot about teaching a language in it with experience in ELL. We also have some ATs who are coming to the program with experience as an English teacher in a high school or middle school in Japan. So, and some of them go back to that. And I'm not a panelist, so I just realized I don't need to be answering all the questions. So if you hear a question or you see a question in the chat, that comes up, please, panelists, just do what Dan Sensei did and just.
Yeah. I'm afraid we're getting a lot of these sort of logistical questions, unfortunately. So I do see from Joseph, he's asking, if selected, will the AT be expected to join in on professional development days when we don't have students in the building? And the answer is basically just yes. The ATs have kind of a full-time schedule with you. So they're not exactly direct employees of like faculty or staff of the school, but we do ask you to sort of treat them basically that way. You can be a little bit flexible with whether you do or don't require them to come in on days like that, but it's kind of up to you. But basically we fall back on, they're basically a staff member of the school, so whatever the other teachers are doing. And then we have another question I'm seeing. I wanted to echo the above. Oh, yes.
Can I just add on to that?
Sure, great. Hi, Carla, former LT.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have them part of that, because I really wanted in the beginning for the staff to see them as another staff member, not as an intern, not as a student teacher, but they are another teacher. And it also gives them a chance to see what is like American high school like. So they get the PD, they get to make relationships with other teachers. And then that just, from the beginning, they're another teacher and they're recognized as that. So I think it's important to include them in everything staff.
Thank you. Actually, I was trying to just roll through that question, but that's a great point. I think that's a win-win for the school, the AT, the LT. I think everybody sort of benefits from really pulling them in and making them feel like a part of the community, so they don't have the sort of identity crisis of who am I even in this school? I'm not just Kinjo no Obasan in the area. Was one of the questions that came up.
Onesan, not Obasan.
It was it's Wakate program, isn't it? Yeah, they're 35 or under, so apologies to that AT who is not here today. But anyway, thank you, Carla.
Hey, Gabe.
Yes.
A couple of the questions have to do with administration, and I just wanted to share really quick. I got some pushback. My principal and assistant principal were right on board, but I had someone at the district level that was just convinced that this was going to cost them money.
What did you do?
I tried to talk to them. I tried to send all the information. Ultimately, I had my principal go through and just say, hey, we've vetted this. We've read through all this stuff. But just expect that somebody is going to try and throw a wrench in the cogs here, and just be patient, work through. I offered them to call you. I offered them to talk to whoever they could, but eventually reasoning won out.
I do end up speaking with a lot of schools directly in the application process. So everybody watching this, please feel free to direct school administrators to direct them to me. I'll straighten them out. No, actually, I understand the sort of language that they use and a lot of the things that they worry about in terms of risk. That's a big one these days. Liability. We have very robust liability insurance that covers the ATs and the schools that join our programs as well. So that's the kind of stuff that I can speak to directly. Other things to think about is that it is essentially a full-time employee that comes, they should be totally free to the school. I know that the housing is often a little bit difficult to find and sort out. But essentially, so we pay their salary, we give them the car stipend, we give them their health insurance, we give them absolutely everything that they need to live in the United States for the whole 2 years. And that's all being provided directly by the program, and it's designed to come at no cost to the host school. So
there's a question in the chat from Joseph Milke Sensei. I host 2 students from Japan, and our at our high school for a full year and always on the search for host families. Does the AT live with a host family, or do we have to or do we have to find them a place to live? So the AT lives with a host, the family in the beginning, just it's generally the first couple of months. Many of the ATs decide by mutual, agreement that they want to just stay with the host family, and then it becomes a different, like renting a room situation. But some ATs, if they're lucky enough to not live in California, they can actually find a place to rent or a room to rent that's affordable. So the requirement is yes, they live with the host family in the beginning while they're getting acclimated to life in the US. And then they can find someone, or then they find another place, or sometimes they stay with the host family. Like I think Maho-san stayed with her host family until the summer, I think.
6月までホストファミリーのところに住んでいて、その後はルームメイトを探して部屋を借りようと思ってたんですけど、ちょっとうまくいかなかったので、Facebook のマーケットプレイスで良さそうな部屋をちょっと探して、ルームツアーに行って、で、今いる部屋に決めました。
If I could go back to sort of also the administrative level thing, really quickly, like just maybe sort of a warning or whatever for LTs, that there could be sort of issues because of sort of this very unique status of the AT as not a district employee and things like that. Like in our district, we had issues with tech. So like because they weren't officially like a student teacher from a recognized university, they weren't an employee, and so we had a little bit of struggle at the beginning with how to get the ATs, like district issued Chromebooks and things like that. We get in and out of the building sometimes with badges, and we couldn't really ever get RATs, or excuse me, yeah, RATs a badge or whatever. So there's something that, but I mean, still, it's not a big deal, but it is sort of an interesting, they're in a very, very sort of a very unique status, I guess, as far as being sort of an employee, but not.
Yeah, and so it really depends on each school district is a little bit different, how they and whether they grant access to Canvas or to the learning management system, whether they give a key, it runs the gamut. Question about rent. What would be considered reasonable rent? This is from Mildenhall Sensei. So there's a stipend, a housing stipend, and Richard Sensei's state is Utah. So that falls under the category of just the standard rate that JF provides, which is
$800 per month. So we recognize that that's not enough for a one-bedroom apartment in the vast majority of the country, and we set that expectation for the ATs early on before they even arrive and tell them not to expect to live in a one-bedroom alone. And it's also why we recommend searching for homestay solutions for the housing. We do talk quite a bit with the LTs in the process of searching for homestays about who to talk to. We typically recommend that they speak with their local Japan America societies or other such organizations that might be involved in other exchange programs and maybe look for homestays on a somewhat regular basis, or at least once a year, something like that. And so looking for homestays is often the best solution if rent is high in your area, but $800 is the amount that we are able to pay from the program. And the logistics person who helps with driver's license stuff is me. Anybody has any specific questions, I'm going to put my email into the chat right now. Please feel free to send me an email with any logistical or admin questions that we can't answer today.
And each of the 8 LTs on this on the panel has had a slightly different experience with helping their AT purchase a car. Sometimes there happens to be a teacher, right, on staff that has a car they want to sell. Sometimes, some of the ATs have gone to Facebook, not Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, or they know someone who, but they need some help with that, just managing that. And each state has is less has different requirements for driver's license. So
shockingly different. We do have one more question I want to get to right here from Tsukiyama Sensei, who's saying, I'm a full-time high school teacher, but my main subject is math. I started a Japanese course this year, and I teach Japanese only a couple of periods. Would they be eligible, Ann Sensei?
Well, I think that's yes. So you teach 2 periods of math daily. Math じゃなくてJapanese. So you have a
Yes.
Japanese 1 and Japanese 2, maybe?
But actually, so at the beginning, I had 27 students, and then I gave them a lot of homework, and then many dropped off. Dropped off, and then now I only have 15. So if I have only 15, probably high school will combine 2 periods into one. So next year there might be. I might only have one Japanese because I have like almost like a 90 algebra 1 students.
Well, we want the AT to have enough experience, right?
Right. Yeah, I understand.
At the same time, the AT's presence can help grow a program, So if the objective, if your goal is to expand the Japanese program, then I would say, that's something that you and your AT would want to really focus on, So
Ohio, state of Ohio has dual enrollment program, so this high school student can take a college course, and then we have Ohio University in Athens, Ohio. So I kind of like communicate with Ohio University's professors, and then I encourage my Japanese 1 students because I only teach Japanese 1, so I encourage them to take CC plus, the dual enrollment courses. And of course, universities, Japanese 1 course the level is much higher, but if they get a head start with my Japanese 1, they can feel comfortable, and then parents are of course happy because they don't have to pay tuition. And to be eligible for dual enrollment courses, they have to be at least have like a 3.5 or higher GPA. And some of my Japanese 1 students are motivated to get better grade in English and math as well because they want to take Japanese 1 course. So so it's not directly I'm growing my course enrollment, but I'm like encourage them to take I'm encourage them to keep learning Japanese. However, I'm not participating in this meeting not just for myself, but so I can send information to the high school teachers in Ohio. Yeah, so anyway, it's okay if I'm not qualified, I'm not eligible, but I can share this information with other teachers. Especially, I heard I met one teacher in a workshop, and she teaches like 5 different Japanese courses, like from Japanese 1 to AP, and then she has to basically do 5 preps. So I want to encourage her to. I
actually,
don't think she's in the meeting today, but yeah.
and as Yama-san said, that describes most of the Japanese teachers that I know, and including myself before. But everybody, they're teaching multiple preps, so that's that it's very helpful to have another teacher there. Is there any who has, I think we run a little bit over time.
I thought, yeah, so Tsukiyama Sensei, if you do have any other questions about eligibility, please feel free to contact us directly. And I would say anybody, if you didn't get a chance to ask your question or have to get running, everybody, please feel free. So I put my email address in the chat, but if it's a question for Ann Sensei or the panel, I could help get you in touch with them. So maybe we'll just use that as the central point, I guess. So at this point, I think I just want to go ahead and wrap it up for us. So I want to say thank you to everybody for joining, everybody who came to learn about the program, but also, of course, to Ann Sensei and Saito Sensei for speaking about the program, our colleagues at Japan Foundation Los Angeles, and of course, our amazing panel of LTs and ATs for joining us. So everybody, round of applause for our cool panel today. Yay. And anybody that's interested to learn more, please feel free to get in touch with us or go to the website, laurasian.org/jleap, and that's where you can find the application as well. So even if you're just kind of thinking about it or vaguely considering, submit an application, start talking to us. We'd love to hear from you and maybe talk a little bit more and see if the program is right for you. I believe in this program very much, and so I believe that it is right for you, whoever you are. I don't know, it depends on who you are. But anyway, I definitely hope to hear from you after the session. And yeah, thank you very much for joining us. Arigatou gozaimasu.
ありがとうございます。